Why doesn't the US or Canada embrace Chinese EVs? First of all, geographically speaking, China doesn't have a lot of oil reserve. That means that it's more expensive to get oil in China. We can't say that for the United States. And secondly, it has become very politically sensitive for any made in China products in the US right now. And in fact, there's actually a Biden-era policy that forbids any made in China internet-connected vehicles to be sold in the United States. Well, at this stage, all of the cars are connected to the internet, so basically no Chinese electric vehicles can be sold here. And third, even for the popular Japanese or Korean automakers you know today, it took them decades to really be accepted into the Western market. So I would say that for these Chinese EV brands, we're really just less than 10 years old. It's only the beginning to really become a global auto brand. I actually just came back from a trip to China, and the level of EV adoption there is really just surprisingly high. The electric vehicles in China use a green license plate, while the gas cars use the blue ones. You can clearly see how many cars running on the streets are powered by electric now. And I will say right now in urban centers, probably 1/3 to 1/2 of the cars are electric. That's kind of hard to imagine in the United States, right? Why is the US so dependent on China for rare earth metals? To start with, rare earth mining and refining is a very polluting industry, and it doesn't really make a lot of money. So the US and a lot of countries have decided that they don't want to keep this anymore. So they started pushing these industries out of their countries. On the other hand, China was happy to take all of those polluting industry into its own borders. So even though China doesn't mine those rare earth minerals, it does most of the refining process of it. And now, China basically has a monopoly of all of the refinement of rare earth. People didn't think of it as a problem until 2010, when China tried to choke off rare earth supply to Japan for political retribution. And then the pandemic came, which made everyone aware of how vulnerable global supply chains can be. So that's when countries like the US really started kind of keeping their own stockpiles and trying to find alternative supply of rare earth. But again, it's still very polluting. It still doesn't make a lot of money. So there isn't really a lot of business will into going into this industry. Most of it remains in China. For more insights like this about China's tech and business, sign up for a newsletter made in China at wire.com/newsletter.